The postseason for high school basketball is upon us, and it got me thinking about some of the memories I had from my senior year in high school playing in districts and how, you know, if you have a bad game, you might find yourself outside of the state tournament. So we'll chat about that here on today's show. Yo, what's up? So, I love watching high school basketball. As a club coach now, it's awesome for me because I have personal ties to a lot of the players that are out there competing at their respective schools. And I got to thinking about, my time playing high school basketball, and it's been almost 20 years now, but it was so much fun, some of the best memories ever. That being said, and some of our favorite memories came from the state basketball tournament, but that state basketball tournament almost didn't happen, and that's the story I wanted to share today. Was kind of reminiscing on the district tournament and kind of how districts are interesting, right? Because a lot of the times you'll see teams that should be in the state tournament, but they have a bad game or two in a row and find themselves in a bad situation where they end up not making it to the state tournament. For me, my senior year in high school, we were right in the middle of the pack of the SIC, which is the Southern Idaho Conference. And that year, there were literally 7 teams that were just neck and neck that just could compete with one another on any given night. Now, Capital High School and Mountain View High School were the 2 top teams that year. And, then there was the rest of us kind of fighting for third and fourth and whatnot. And we were anybody could win on any given night. And then there was Boise High School. They were the outlier. Boise High School at the time, they had 1 win that entire year, and it was against a 3A school, which was Mountain Home. They were terrible, unfortunately. It's not no shot to their players and whatnot. I know a lot of them still, but they were a really, really bad basketball program back then. And so anyway, we get into the district basketball tournament, and we found ourselves playing Bora in the first round of districts. And we happened to be on the side of the bracket where we were with Capital, which was the number 1 team in the SIC. And we knew that if we beat Bora, we'd probably end up playing Capital because Capital was playing Boise. But we knew that if we lost to Bora, we'd probably get Boise and we'd be okay. So the game was right before ours. Capital ends up beating Boise, I believe, and Boise is in the losers bracket of the district tournament. It was double elimination. We ended up, playing a pretty good game against Bora, but we lost. It was a hard-fought battle. That Bora was a good matchup for us. I mean, we were neck and neck with them in the season. I think we split it one game apiece, and then in districts, we lost to them in the first round. So we're on the loser side of the bracket. And we're playing Boise. Well, here we are against a team that is literally the worst team in the state of Idaho at that time. And we came out there. I wouldn't say we were unprepared, but I would say that they came out with nothing to lose, literally, at all. All they were trying to do was wreck our season. Back then, there wasn't a lot of friends on opposite teams, so to speak. We didn't like the other team's players, like at other schools. Like, we didn't get along. Like, it wasn't like it is now where, like, everybody's best friends with everybody. No, like, we legitimately didn't like them. And we didn't like their fans, and it was just, we didn't like them. And I remember in that game, it was kind of a weird game anyway, because for me, I'm a 3-point shooter, and I ended up hitting 3 2-point jumpers in the first quarter, had 6 points just right off the bat with like mid-range jumpers. And it just seemed different for me because that wasn't normally my game, but I was getting a couple of jump shots to fall, and I was like, okay, this is all right. I had a good little start to it, but I knew it was a weird game from the beginning because Boise came out swinging. I mean, they had athletes that could play. They literally had no fear. They were just playing. Their coaches were being very aggressive. And anyway, we find ourselves, this is an elimination game, have you? Loser is done for the season. And we had played our whole lives. Like, even in middle school, we talked about our senior year in high school. We were going to go to the state tournament once we were all there. We talked about that. And here we are in this game, and it's going into the fourth quarter, and we're in a neck and neck game with this team. We're like, man, we've let them hang around for too long. And at the very end of the game, they came down and it was tied, and they drove to the basket, did a little turnaround jumper right next to the basket. It was like a layup that was contested, and they get it to fall with less than 2 seconds to play in the game. So we had less than 2 seconds with the ball on the baseline, and we were pretty positive our season was over. It was not looking good. And it was interesting what transpired from there. I remember us passing the ball in to half court and Andrew Kilgore getting the ball near half court and then just launching the ball up from half court, and it didn't even come close to the basket. And the buzzer still goes off, and some fans are cheering, but then the referees are saying, no, the coach called timeout. So our head coach had called timeout as soon as the ball got closer to half court so we could advance it closer to half court. And that's what ended up happening. Well, it irritated some of the Boise fans to the point where they were screaming, like that, you can't put more time on the clock. It actually was the right call. I know it sounds easy for me to say that because it benefited us, but it was the right call. The ball got advanced to half court and our coach called the timeout like he should have. Right. And then he drew up a play. And this is what was the craziest thing is like, I was actually in the game. I was having a good shooting game. And so it was weird. I was just like, okay, like I'm in the game. There was an option for me to come off of a screen down low and come up top, and the ball was coming in from half court. So if I could get the ball, I'd shoot a three at the end to shoot it. There was only like 0.9 seconds. It was like less than a second left. Then there was an option for Andrew Kilgore to get a lob to the basket. He was the one setting the screen for me, and then they were going to set a back screen for him so he could get to the basket. And we would lob it to the basket, and he could try to get a bucket to tie it and go overtime. There was another option for Logan, who was inbounding the ball, to pass it and then get it right back and shoot a three if there was enough time for that. But basically our last option was Mike Darden was sprinting towards the corner, towards the wing, as a, last ditch effort to get somebody open, and then he would shoot it. And we kind of knew that it was going to be hard to get the ball. Like I knew they were going to switch on me. They were going to switch on Kilgore. They knew they were switching everything. Just there's 0.9 seconds left. We had the ball at half court. And so lo and behold, like, they blow the whistle and here we are running our play. And I was like, oh my gosh, like nothing's open. And Mike Darden comes sprinting to the wing, out to the corner to the wing. And it was the near side wing, have you? So Logan throws it to him. He gets it and he just lets it go. He shoots it. It was actually like, that's a tough shot. And he lets it go from three. And I kid you not, I'm at the top of the key, at the top of the 3-point line, because that was where I was going to try to get the ball. And I look at the ball go up, hit the rim, and it almost circles for a second and goes in. And it was like I had an out-of-body experience. Like I just went ballistic. I mean, he hits the three at the buzzer. And we send Boise home. Their parents are pissed. One of their dads throws his like seating chair that he brought, like the portable chair, throws it onto the court, goes freaking crazy because he didn't think there should have been more time on the clock. I mean, they were so mad. And here I was I hated their fan base. I hated all of their players. So I'm just screaming. There was a video footage of it. My friend, his mom did record it, and we can't find it now, it seems like, but we watched it before of me everyone's running over to Mike. And don't get me wrong, like I loved that. I wanted to celebrate with Mike, and I still did after the fact. But at that moment, I was just screaming at the fans and just wailing my arms and just letting them hear it because I was celebrating by myself over here, just yelling at their fan base and just having a blast. I said a lot of bad words, just bleep, yeah, bleep, yeah, bleep, yeah, like just going over and over and over again. And I mean, it was just the heat of the competition. We ended up winning that game. And yeah, we went and shook their hands. I mean, it was one of the most nerve-wracking games because even in the locker, even in the like the huddle, like on the bench, people were already starting to do their, we were already getting choked up and crying because like, dude, we just lost. We were thinking literally like we just lost the worst team in Idaho to get kicked out. We're not going to go to state now. That's the end of our basketball careers. Like that's how it's going to work. Like that's how we're going to go out. And like people were already crying. Like they were already getting, it was sad, dude. We were already kind of like feeling like, oh shoot. And then Mike Darden comes to the rescue and just crushes it, dude. And the thing that was cool about that is we still had to keep playing. And so the next game we played Timberline, and the winner would go to state, and then the loser would go to, they still had to keep playing and then could try to find a way to get to an elimination game. I felt like districts took forever back then. There was no district play-in game. Like everybody was in districts. You were just seeded based on your regular season seedings. And then from there, it just felt like there was like a million chances to make it to state. And Timberline, we beat Timberline. And so we go to state. And Timberline ended up making it to state as well through a play-in game later on. But like it was a cool experience because then we got to experience the state basketball tournament, right? And Not every team gets to do that. It's very unique, but there are some teams, you hear it all the time in high school basketball. You might be really good in the regular season, but if you choose a bad time to have a bad game or two, season could be over. So it's like you have to come ready to play when it comes to districts, because you could end up like us in a situation where it took a 3-pointer at the buzzer to save our season, so we didn't lose to the worst team in Idaho. So, and I see that a lot covering high school athletics. A lot of teams that should make it end up getting upset because they choose a bad time to have a bad game, and that's also where it's really cool to see the superstar players, like the star players on each team, that choose the right time to be a superstar, right? Like your stars have got to play like stars, and the ones that choose a good game to have a good game are the ones that are super exciting to watch. So it's always the good and the bad that come with sports. But it was just a memory of mine of like, man, we were that close to not making the state tournament. So at the end of the season banquet, when we were done with everything, the state tournament was over. We took the consolation in the state tournament. So funny story, we lost to Lewiston in the first round. We beat Highland, who was the defending champs. They had lost the night before, so they were kind of upset. We beat them in a really, really close game where I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Mike Darden might have hit the game winner there too. I actually, no, I can't remember who hit the game winner, but I believe he was part of the defensive stop at the very end of that game at the Idaho Center. That's back when even the losers bracket played at the Idaho Center. And then we beat Bora, the team that beat us in districts. We beat them in our very final game ever as a high school basketball team, right? So we beat them in the consolation game, and we were at least able to take home some hardware from that, and it was kind of exciting that way. But after that, the end of season banquet, we were there, and our head coach was talking about Mike Darden and how, our coach was already kind of planning out, like, how am I going to talk to my team about this one? Like at the end of the game, how do I discuss with them that our season just ended to the worst team in Idaho? Like, how are we going to flip that to make this sound like a positive season? Like that's really hard for these high school kids, and we highlighted Mike Darden's shot because yes, he made that shot, and we still had multiple games after that we played for like 2 more weeks, just, throughout the district tournament and the state tournament and everything. But Mike Darden's shot against Boise to take us out of the elimination game, facing elimination down 2 with 0.9 seconds left, and he hits that 3 at the buzzer. It saved our season. And those are the memories that stick with me, right? Like we were very, very close to getting knocked out of state contention. You know what I mean? That was that close. And you'd see it on the paper. You'd be like, oh yeah, Meridian beat Boise. Of course they did. But it wasn't like that. It took it took a miracle for it to happen. And it's one of those good memories. But yeah, you've gotta come ready to play at all times. And so that's my message to any of the high school athletes that are out there. Come ready to play, because at any moment, another team, if they pick a good game to have a good game, and you pick a bad game to have a bad game, you pick the wrong time to have a bad game, season could be over. So come ready to play. When it comes to tournament time, you got to come ready to play locked in every single game and just be ready for it. So anyway, just wanted to share that memory with y'all. If you guys haven't subscribed to my podcast, I'd consider hitting this follow button here on YouTube. And every Friday I have new episodes where I interview other athletes and sports figures across the globe. Been doing it for 7 years. So I'd encourage you guys to check it out. I appreciate the support. We'll talk to you guys soon.